Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Matt Morris, and I am a Senior Customer Success Manager here at Aloware. Um, Today, we're going to review our HubSpot integration and some of the features that come along with that in your U Pro and X Pro plans. So what we're looking at right now is a standard contact record. And we'll have our make a phone call option here directly from HubSpot. If we go ahead and click on that, we can select our call from Alaware as our option, and then we can go ahead and call that contact directly from the HubSpot record. Now, what we see here is going to be the Alaware dialer. If we have an option, if we have selected rather the option to not have a default line in our agent profile settings, then you'll be asked to select a line which you can utilize, and then the agent can go ahead and make a call. Now, what we're going to see here on this end, let me go ahead and answer my call. Mute. And we're going to put these on hold. So now that we're on hold, we can see that we have our standard dialer here. The same experience that your agents would have through the Alaware Talk browser interface, the Alaware desktop interface, and also the Alaware Talk mobile app. So we have the keypad that you can utilize. We have notes that you can add to the call, tags that you can add to the call. And then if you would like to, you can leave a voicemail drop with pre-recorded messages. And then there are standard functions of add or introduce, transfer. And if we want to view this contact directly within Alaware, we can go ahead and do that via this contact option as well. Now, once I go ahead and hang up this call, I'm going to be prompted to select call disposition. In some cases, you are able to add different fields where, for example, we're going to add a HubSpot call type. Um, we can require the call disposition via some admin settings. In this case, we know we're not going to need to disposition this contact because in the future, we'll still want to chat with them. We'll also see where we can send a follow-up SMS template message, and then review the recording and add any additional tags or notes that we might not have added during that call. I'm going to go ahead and click finish, and we can go ahead and close this window. Now, before I hit refresh on this browser tab, so we'll see that call come up here in the activity. Oh, there it is already. It's a bit quicker. So because we made that call through our Alaware dialer, we now have the integration showing this call directly within the contact record and via the activity. If you, as an admin or anybody else reviewing this lead, for example, wants to review the activity within the contact record, all of that is synced directly here now. We're going to go ahead and come over to the right-hand column, and we're going to talk about the SMS Messenger. This is also powered by Alaware. And what we're going to pull up here is an exact communication history of the conversation with that lead or contact. If you were to access this contact record directly within Alaware, this is the same interface that you would see, whether or not that contact called you back, whether or not the agent left a message or it was a failed call, those types of things. We can also, as its intended purpose, go ahead and leave a SMS text message directly from HubSpot. So the idea is that you don't ever have to leave HubSpot if you're working through this manual fashion. Um, let's go ahead and send a text.
So, quick question there. Is it possible to
Yeah,
have a template that you can use for your reps? As a manager, I'd be kind of interested in that.
I'm sorry.
Is it possible to use like a template for your team to send out the texts?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. So there's a couple different ways where we can utilize different templates, or I'd like to call them variables, and so does our UI. But it'll allow you to enter, let's say, like a first name wildcard. Hello, first name of your contact. This is Samuel reaching out from XYZ company. I'd love to follow up with you. I just left you a voicemail. Please come chat with me, that kind of thing. But if we would like to make sure that, let's say that's something that we follow up every call with, let's say, for example, like you had suggested, let's add a template and make that template the thing that we always send after our text messages, including those variables of, hi, contact first name, my name is Sam. Please reach out to me. I just left you a voicemail. So, and then if we save those templated text messages, we can go ahead and use them directly within uh, our response here. Again, we're still in HubSpot. And if we want to see what we're about to send before that goes out, we can view that template before we click add or use. So it gives you a little sample here, a preview, if you will. Let's just go
Awesome.
ahead and use that one.
Personalization is really helpful.
Yes, the variables are very helpful, especially when we're reaching out to a lot of leads in a short time span. I go ahead and send this. And then when you can see here, it fills in the contact information with those wildcard information. And that's really quite amazing, actually, there.
Yeah, I love that.
And yeah, that's amazing. I love seeing that template work in action. So now that we've sent that, number one, we're going to go ahead and see it up here over in the top. If we went back into our SMS messenger, we'd also see that text message. And then when we probably need to refresh the page, when we refresh the page, depending on your browser refresh settings, we'll also see that text message present here in the contact record directly. Now, one of the other things that more advanced features of the integration are going to be within the contact properties. And within our Alaware to HubSpot integration, we have some custom properties that you can utilize through workflows, for example, within HubSpot, or sync bidirectionally from Alaware to HubSpot, or maybe you only want to send it one way. Um, for example, we have a field that would identify the line type for you. And if you build this contact property into your HubSpot instance, we can go ahead and sync whether or not that phone number is a wireless or a landline. And that way, when you are sending text messages, for example, through your HubSpot workflows, that you aren't sending to a landline where you obviously can't send a text message, but you're still going to be charged for it through the carrier. So what these custom contact properties are going to allow us to do is to make sure that we have our filters correct within our lists before we enroll them into a workflow that might take specific actions, like send a text message or add to an agent's power dialer queue, for example. So let's go ahead and talk about lists first. Let's say, for example, you are building these lists in your HubSpot through another workflow, for example, or maybe you're utilizing our form to call or click to call method of, a lead submits an inquiry on your website and you want to go ahead and enroll them into a workflow that assigns them to a specific setter on your sales team, or lots of different scenarios here that we can utilize HubSpot, as you can imagine. But at the crux of it, you can build a list and say, let's assign this list to a specific agent on my team. And these are the ones that I want this agent to work. Or you can start adding this list or make this list available to your agents to add to their power dialer. Or maybe a list is just an individual campaign. So you have 5,000 leads and you want to round robin all those leads to your setters. Let's start with a list. That's a great thing with HubSpot lists is that once we get to those filtered subset of contexts that we really want to reach out to or communicate with, then we can roll that into a workflow. So, um, and what those workflow actions will do for us with our Aloware integration. Go ahead and get to a test workflow here. Now, I'm going to gloss over a little bit of, I believe, if you're familiar with workflows enough, you'll know that we need a trigger. And in the triggers, this is where we can say XYZ, let's make sure they go through this tree or this decision tree that we've built in HubSpot. Now, some of the actions that you can use within that workflow in HubSpot are going to be available through Aloware. What we can see here is we can then add to a preview dialer. We can add to a specific agent's power dialer. Um, we can add to another user's power dialer. We can clear all of those power dialer lists if we need to. More importantly, I think one of the ones that most clients are looking for is that we can send a text message and add to a power dialer. These two actions will provide you a lot of automation in, let's say, if someone fills out that form on your website and you immediately want to add them to the top of one of your agent's power dialing queues. So literally the next call they make is to that contact that just filled out that form on your website. So we're talking about speed to lead with regard to how the integration works in Aloware and HubSpot because we can send that text message directly from a HubSpot workflow. It's not a native feature that HubSpot has. And so being able to utilize your Aloware um, SMS capabilities is hugely powerful in that speed to lead. And that's where a lot of these actions that come into play within the HubSpot workflows are really helpful in assigning to specific leads or sending a text message at a very specific time after someone makes a call and sets a disposition on that contact. Lots of different ways to utilize it, but um, kind of brainstorm, and I'm sure you can think of a lot of different ways that you could build some automation around this.
This is so great. I'm always on my team to optimize their speed to lead, but they're busy. Sometimes they're focused on other tasks and things fall through the cracks. So this is a really great way to automate it and make sure that we're following up right away.
Those organizations that are wanting to have someone fill out a form on their website and it pretty much like call them 5 minutes later. This is one of the most perfect solutions you could possibly have because in the power dialer options, for example, you can add it to the top. So if your agent's workflow is um, they're dialing like outbound cold leads through the power dialer already, and they add that into their queue, and you get a hot lead, let's just send it to the top of their list so that's the next person they call. And what this allows us to do is just say, like, if that person doesn't pick up, they're in the power dialer queue already. The agent can make a decision, it's like, I'm going to dial that person again. And then when I'm going to finish the call, I'll send a follow-up text message. And the only thing you have to do in the HubSpot workflow is literally add them to the agent's power dialer queue. And so long as you have the right training for those agents and they have the appropriate workflow and process down, like, and they understand what the expectations are, then um, being able to convert and have successful conversations comes pretty easily after that, truthfully. It's just making sure that we do two phone calls and then send a follow-up text message. And on the second phone call, honestly, leave a voicemail drop.
Could you tell me a little bit about how I would decide which agent to have taken action? Is there a way that I can set up a decision tree or anything like that?
Yeah, so if we're wanting to, kind of split this among, let's say, like 6 or 7 people. And what we'll do want to do is set up a branch. And we can say in this branch, let's assign, and then if the criteria that we set for Susie is, let's say, for example, like through some form or fashion, we're setting them as the sales rep or the CX rep, whatever you want your decision criteria to be to send that contact to Susie in this decision tree. It can be any of these filtering criteria that you have available to you within HubSpot. Um, the same would go for Joe. Then they could both be different, decisions to route to those different agents because each agent would have their own tree. And what becomes even more powerful when we have our own separate trees is that we can then build out their follow-up differently if we want to. So like maybe Joe handles one particular product and Susie handles sales for another particular product that you sell in your organization. Um, we want to probably have different follow-up conversations with different value of leads, So maybe if a lead qualifies as over, a big lead or like a whale of a lead, we are going to treat that one probably a lot differently. So let's go ahead and have our ace, Susie, handle that lead. And we're gonna immediately add it to the power dialer. And then maybe one of the follow-up steps is we wait a couple days and we create a task, a HubSpot task to check up on this lead and see how that's going. So that Susie has some automated ways to then click into the contact record and make another call and make sure that we send another text message. So there's lots of different ways that we can approach the branching. But I think, again, it's just another really powerful way we can make sure that if we're branching it, we can use that user's personal line. We can send it out. We can send a text message from their personal line. Like they don't have to actually do those actions for us to say, send this from Joe's line. And then when the contact receives that communication, they're like, oh, it's Joe from, XYZ company. I'm definitely going to answer that text message because I've been chatting with him. I filled out his form on his website. So there's some really powerful ways we can, again, utilize the branching and then perform different actions through the Aloware actions, I guess.
Very nice. We have a lot of segmented products in our org, so I can definitely see us taking advantage of that.
Yeah, it really helps when, like there's a specific person, for example, or a team responsible for one particular product that has no relation to maybe some other product that your organization also sells, and another team is responsible for that. Well, I think that'll be where we wrap up today. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to assist. Have a great day.
Thanks, Matt.